Did that ending scene of this episode mean what I think it meant? Huh. I'll talk about that in a moment. I'll save that for the end of, the video. But for now, let's talk about Yuri's character. Now, as you all know by now, I've been talking about Yuri as a character because one of the big things about Yuri on Ice is that it's a character-driven story. And once again, with this episode, we see Yuri developing and how much he has changed just in these little amount of episodes. And one of the biggest things is how Yuri has an effect on people's lives. That was something that was really nice to see, because let's look at the bigger picture of the series, okay, or what Yuri has been doing since the beginning. One of the big things is he's always put Victor up there as his idol, his shining light, someone to admire, someone to be like, someone to beat eventually. That's kind of what Yuri's always strived to do. That is his goal with Victor. The thing is that Yuri never knew that someone would look up to him in the exact same way he looks up to Victor. Minami was introduced in this episode, and he has the same exact viewpoint on Yuri as Yuri has on Victor. And it showcases how Yuri has an effect on people, how much he can motivate someone to change and to better themselves for they continue to be an ice skater and better their lives in general. Yuri got to experience this. He got to feel how it feels to be Victor. And this was some very good character development for him to realize what it truly means to be idolized. And when he realizes this and how he's kind of like this model for someone and he needs to support them or, show encouragement, be mature, I like that side of Yuri, especially when he walked back into the stadium and he acted all serious and stuff. He got the man a pat, which was very rigid because you could see that he was a little bit stiff or nervous, but overall though, you could see he meant well by it, and he realized that he needs to show this impression about him that is mature. He needs to carry himself in a way that looks like, he can hold up to that image that the people idolize him as. So he wanted to be that person that Minami really cares about and likes. And so I respect Yuri for that, the way he carried himself throughout the entire ice skating match when he was doing his free dancing, free skating. He did a good job with that. And then to go even further than that, I love the development that Victor did for Yuri and how he pushed him to a certain direction. Yuri, as we know, as I've said many times, he's a type of character that, lacks confidence. He's one of those type of characters, and he's been building up that confidence throughout the journey of the series. And we see that confidence kind of building in this episode, the way he carried himself throughout his skating. But one of the big things is that Victor, he talked to Yuri, and he's like, a man that can't motivate others cannot motivate himself. And that is such a good line. It's such a good line. Because it makes so much sense. If you cannot motivate someone else that cares about your, wants to idolize you, then you can't motivate yourself. That's not fucking possible. That's not possible at all. So I like Victor's line and the meaning and weight behind that, because it showcases what type of person Victor is as well. Victor is the type of person that needs to motivate people, and he's also the type of person needs to be able to motivate himself. And that's kind of why he decided to become a coach in the first place. He wanted to do things that changes people's opinions about him. He wants to do the unexpected, surprise the audience, but also he's motivating Yuri, because Yuri was at the point in his career to where he wanted to give up. He was pretty much done. He didn't know if he could really continue moving forward, and now he's having that redemption. He's being able to move up the ladder, become a better skater. Victor is teaching him, and Yuri's becoming more of the person he wants to be. And when you look at all of this, Victor is doing the exact same thing. He is telling Yuri from personal experience of what he has went through. And that's what makes this overall relationship between Yuri and Victor so much more impactful, because Yuri is now experiencing what Victor experienced. Victor was a type of person that didn't listen to his coach. He did things and went out of his way to do things that were crazy compared to what his coach instructed. And that's what Yuri's kind of doing in this episode. But to go even further than that, when Victor stated to Yuri, you need to be able to motivate someone before you can motivate yourself, that's kind of what Victor is doing right now. He was motivating others to kind of be like these people that continuously get better at skating, for he can motivate himself. But also what he's doing now for Yuri is motivating himself, but also motivating him. So Victor, all of the things he said to Yuri, he also stumbled through as well. And this is some good way to display some character development for a character. And Victor, overall, with the way he displayed himself and the way he actually cared about Yuri and trying to better him, being strict with him, telling him how he could be better, that's a way a coach should be. Now, getting off of that, the final scene of the episode is something that's going to be rather controversial. And it's exactly how I felt about in last week's episode. I was surprised with the maturity of the way the yaoi scene was handled, especially with Victor talking about, do you want me to be your friend, your brother, family member, father? Do you want me to be your lover? And the way that was stated, it was such a mature way to handle it. I mean, like I've said many times over, I'm not one that goes out on a way to watch a yaoi show. I don't. But I do like the maturity of it. I like the maturity because it is just right. It doesn't feel like it's being forced. It doesn't feel like it is something that just came out of nowhere. It has been properly building up. And I mean, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of that type of stuff, but I will say, Yuri on Ice is probably one of the first series I've ever seen that really takes a mature outlook on yaoi relationships, and especially that final scene at the end when Yuri was dancing and his entire theme of his dance was love, and he opens his arms up at Victor. That was him kind of saying he's confessing to him. And I'm like, yo, did that just happen? Did Yuri just confess to Victor? And that is where Victor got his answer. He's like, oh, so he's doing it for me, and he looks around. And I wonder if this path is going down this path, will this actually cause these two to become in a relationship? Now, like I said, I like the maturity of this, because not many anime are willing to tackle something like this. Many anime tend to show a comedy side to it, like, you know, they kind of throw it aside, make it too comedic or whatever, even when it comes to Yuri as well. Yuri's done the exact same way, and so is yaoi. And I like this mature way it's being handled right now, that it's very tasteful. And so far right now, Studio Mappa, you're doing a very, very good job with handling this situation, but also the main writer of Yuri on Ice did a good job with handling some of these themes, because I'm just surprised of how tasteful it is. So, besides that, overall, let's talk about the animation / art. Now, the art wasn't the best, I will completely admit. Now, when it came to the clothing, however, the art looks beautiful. But the animation is really where this series shines at, and that is because of the body movements. Now, as we all know, art and animation separate. Some of the art throughout, you know, the dances, it doesn't look the best. For instance, you can see to where Yuri's face looks a little bit off, or it doesn't look spectacular. But the animation, on the other hand, is very beautiful. I mean, let's just look at the scene when Yuri was doing his dance of love. That dance, the way he moved, I have to know that had to be like a bitch to animate. That had to be so hard to animate. When you look at the character movements, you know that put a lot of work. The animators put so much work into that, because you saw the way Yuri was moving his arms, the way he was moving his hands, his head, his neck, his legs, his feet. You just saw these different movements with his body going on all at once. It's not just a simple movement of a hand, or a simple movement of fingers moving, or just turning his head. It wasn't like that. You literally saw Yuri's entire body moving constantly for multiple minutes. Not just like 10 seconds, not just 5 seconds, not 30 seconds, but minutes, ongoing minutes, just seeing Yuri moving his entire body. And it wasn't just Yuri, it was other characters too. That is some spectacular animation. So Studio Mappa, you deserve a reward and a pay raise. The animators deserve a pay raise for that work they did on this episode, because not many companies are willing to deal with that, because that probably takes a lot of effort, a lot of manpower, and a lot of headache to be able to make scenes like that. So I give my compliments to Studio Mappa. So there you go. That's my thoughts on this week's episode of Yuri on Ice. How do you all feel about the Victor/Yuri relationship? Do you feel like it's going to go down that path? Or do you feel like they're just going to kind of brush you under the rug? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. You'll have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.